Oh, I don't know the song to come back, Jeremy. I don't know the notes. Yeah, you guys have these nice philosophical, not necessarily philosophical, but I just have, like, I wanted to ask you guys what kind of coffee you drink, because I like coffee, and maybe you guys don't, because we just ignore it, because I know Jeremy doesn't.
What kind of coffee? Pocket.
I don't know. I have no idea. I just complain if I don't like it, but I know that
it's not a good topic because
it's fresh beans.
I'm the only one interested. Pocket, are you into any sort of things like personal electric vehicles or bicycles? Or I know Jeremy's into bicycles and I'm into electric things. Do you have any opinions?
No,
I know that's not a question.
Wait.
I've become like...
But I could turn it into a question.
You can't say no, Pocket. I know you're an avid mountain biker.
Oh, is that true?
Well, yeah. So, yeah. I haven't been doing it so much. I haven't been doing it so much lately, but yeah, sure. I own like 10 mountain bikes, I think.
Well, Pocket, you can't say no to that question. That's a great question.
So how do you feel? How do you both of y'all? How do you guys feel about manual bicycles and electric bicycles and scooters and things?
I failed
in real life here.
I failed to see the point. I also see it as a bicycle is already so elegant in its simplicity that why would you want to add additional things to fix and additional variables when you're out on a ride for things to break?
You're talking about as far as electric bicycles.
I have a
Pocket. I've got something for you though. You know, I ride a single speed.
I've been trying to get Jeremy to move up to an electric bicycle, but he says no.
To Pocket's point, though, I told Pocket that I ride a single-speed bike, and he thought that was a little silly. Yeah,
well, how many gears is a single speed? Is that like a 5-speed or something?
It's like a 5-speed divided by 5. So if you take... So I have 1 speed. If you want to double it and divide it by half, that's how many I have. But anyway, I have a single speed, has no gears, yada, yada, yada. And Pocket seemed to think that was a little bit silly. So,
what do you do when you get to a hill?
Well, I guess I'm out of Florida at that point, so I guess my legs are pretty strong if I've been riding for that long. You do not like electric bicycles, and you do not like single speeds either. So what's your optimum bicycle experience?
Pretty specific design. I like 21
Schwinn
speeds
with a banana seat.
No, little more modern than that. I do think
the one that Pee Wee Herman had on his movie, right?
That's a single speed, Jeremy. That's for you.
Did he jump the Grand Canyon or something on that? Or
he jumps with a Tarzan kind of grabbed a vine and swung through something somehow holding the bike.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
I'm sure it was special effects.
Burt Reynolds who did the real jumping in that movie. The reference will go over most people's heads if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I guess. Well,
another cult classic.
That's for somebody.
Pee Wee's Big Adventure is it's an absolute classic must see, and that's that would have been a good.
And Burt played Pee Wee in the movie. Movie.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Really.
Another shout out is to The Princess Bride. You mentioned that earlier. I would probably put that as at least in my top 5 of greatest movies of all time. The Princess Bride is just a masterpiece.
People really love that movie. I saw it when I was very young, and I didn't know that I appreciated it. So maybe I should check it out again.
I saw it in 6th grade for the first time. The teacher announced that Friday we'll be watching a movie, and everybody says, "Yay! What's the movie?" The Princess Bride. Oh.
Yeah, I think we watched it in school too. Around the same grade.
Why was this so educational? I mean, I know they use the baffle.
It's not educational.
It's just clever, and the title doesn't do it justice. The title is off-putting, but there's a reason that it's a cult classic. It's a masterpiece.
Okay.
And
now the lady that was a princess, she became the lady from the House of Cards, right? Isn't that the same lady?
Yes.
I don't watch that show, but she's Jenny from Forrest Gump.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
What was his name? David.
Not Jenny from the block. That was South Park.
No, different Jenny. The Very Bad Wizards guy argued that it's the greatest revenge story ever told, and he's a philosopher, I think. No. I think he's a psychologist. Well, that's a pretty strong argument. It really is a good But no. The Count of Monte Cristo was the best revenge story ever told. Come on.
Yeah, because they got the sandwich from that, and that was pretty tasty.
Yeah, sure, Jeremy.
That's the fried sandwich, right?
I don't know that I've ever had one, but it
They're
sounds
deep
delicious.
fried. Are they deep fried?
I don't know. I'm more and more a fan of this
Okay,
story.
well,
The more you talk
I'll
about
be
it,
moderator here. Today is Google's 25th anniversary. Just to put this in context, brings me to another one of my bullet points. AI.
Oh, I like.
Okay.
I'm excited to talk about AI. This
Yeah.
was
We can-
floating around my brain as something to talk about.
we can
today.
finally figure out how to mow your lawn correctly.
Yes, that is it has solutions. There will be wondrous solutions that emerge of AI, but there are also real dangers. And no, I'm not some nutty alarmist. There are real concerns with AI. How about this one? Microsoft's new version of Clippy or Cortana or whatever they call it, the Office Assistant. The newest one in Windows 11 is going to be ChatGPT's GPT-4 based. So your new assistant is going to be a large language model. That is creepy.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
creepy.
is it?
It's
Why are you creeped out by the large language models?
because it's too much power to give idiots.
Well, that was what they said about Google 25 years ago.
Yeah, and they were right.
Well,
Or have you not noticed those dark recesses of the interwebs, Pat?
well, I've noticed that a lot of people don't bother to ask Google the questions. They just ask other people.
What do you mean by that? Explain. Elaborate.
There's been a general trend that seems to be. I don't have the science to back this up, Pocket. So don't.
You don't
assume
know
that
this
I'm
for a
right. And I
fact,
didn't
but you know
research
it's
this.
true.
This has to be true. Yeah, the various forums and places on Reddit where people go to ask for help with things.
Yes.
Reddit
Most
is
of them have
100%
not.
right.
They've not Googled their question at all because it'd be the very first hit if they typed in the words that they're asking.
Yeah.
They just want somebody else to spoon feed it
Okay,
to them.
but the corollary to what you're saying is that forums can be a real pain because people don't give answers. They just say real quickly, read the FAQ first before asking anything. And there are a lot of
Yeah, but people give a lot of answers now. It's pretty common to ask the question and get the answer
I've grown up
without putting in any work.
from what I know about
They're getting rewarded. People are getting rewarded for this. I'm not saying it's not working.
from what I know about you. I think it's fair to assume, yeah, Pat, I think it's fair to assume that you used forums a lot before, like a decade
Sure.
back. Because I sure
go
did.
with that.
I used forums like crazy, and I grew out of them. I started to hate them because of what they became. Did you have a similar experience?
Well, I'm a lurker. I read things more than I ask
Oh,
questions.
weirdo.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Flame Warriors?
No.
You-
the what?
The Flame Warriors. It was
like-
it was this series of cartoons. It was brilliant, and they would describe all the different archetypes for internet people, and lurker was one. And the comic,
That's me.
it sticks in my head because it's this shadowy guy wearing like a headset, and it's so funny. It's called Shadow Warriors. I think it's like in old internet language though, so it's really hard to find it. But you should Google it because it's really
In
entertaining.
old internet language.
I'm the lurker, but I have 800,000 words on my blog,
Oh, that's not.
so I
that's,
don't know what that means. That's not lurking.
No.
The thing is, you don't know how many lurkers there are. There could be many more than whoever else.
Well, we're all lurkers somewhere.
Sure,
Because I read,
that's true.
I read Reddit, but I've never said anything on it.
You're just having a lurk.
I'm just trying to extract it for information. I hate Reddit too.
Are you having a lurk?
Is that British or hillbilly?
That's British. That's very Ricky Gervais.
Having a lurk?
Oh, okay.
Having a laugh. It wasn't his tagline, though. It was the tagline of the character. Yeah, on Extras, he was on a TV show. And the character on that TV show, that was his catchphrase.
Yeah. Wow. That's
So is that
really
a
quite
one step removed from one extra step removed from reality?
Did you watch his?
Well, I don't know.
Did you listen to his podcast?
I really enjoy watching the animations they do over the top of
Yes,
his podcast.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. It
Yeah.
was brilliant. It was
Yeah.
one of the best pieces of entertainment ever.
Carl Pilkington is delightful. I love
Yeah.
both of his shows on Netflix.
And Stephen Merchant he's an excellent conversationalist. His dryness
Yes.
too, and the wit, and
So
And his height.
he's very tall.
He's very tall.
he's also one of the voices on Portal 2, for those who care.
All that being said, do you think somebody like him and his voices could be replaced by AI in the near future?
Well, of course, that's child's play for AI. That's just
Well, I guess that's the thing. Like, like this conversation we're having with you. My job as a technical writer. Do you think that's all just going to be out the door? And that's fine. I'm not going to
every single
I've had this thought.
every single area of intellectual ability will be eventually outmoded by AI.
Yeah, but maybe not within your lifetime.
No, I didn't. I'm not out. I wouldn't stand behind I wouldn't stand behind a timeline because predictions have been notoriously spotty.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people that think we're at the beginning of the GPTs being, improving at the rate they've been improving. Or we may also be, this may be about as good as it gets for a long time.
Well, you know what they say, Pat. The GPTs, those general purpose transformers. I guess
They're way more than meets the eye, Jeremy.
That's what I hear.
They
we
just have
can't
to
see your
fly
face,
these
Pocket. We
boundaries.
don't know if you. I interrupted you, Pocket. Why we're gonna have to have a rule that we don't have more than one P person on here at a time because I'm getting confused.
Well, Jeremy, there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that.
If there's a problem, I'll solve it.
Yeah, but you're not.
We could have if we could have Rob Van Winkle on here, that might be a good. That's not a P word.
The Transformer joke made me facepalm, but I did laugh, Jeremy.
Okay,
It totally derailed my line of thinking.
Well, and I'm sorry about that, Pocket, but that was a callback because when we talked about Transformers last episode, and Jeremy made the more than meets the eye joke, poor Alex, it just went right past his head, and he just kept going.
I had a subject here. It was skilled labor versus white collar. And I guess my subset on that was just thinking that things of the future aren't necessarily white collar, data processing jobs like, I do in some ways, and Pat does IT, whatever, stuff like that. It's going to be people that can combine, are very smart, yet can combine that with hands-on ability. You could take this from anywhere from a surgeon is that type of person, to a bricklayer, to a plumber, an electrician, something that I don't think, certainly not in our lifetimes, I think not for 100 years will they really automate that.
I have a fascinating thing to tell you about why you might be wrong, Jeremy. There's Chinese equipment, CNC-style machines, that do dentistry. They can carve out a tooth and put a filling in without human intervention. We're not allowed to use them. The dentists here can use the equipment, but they have to have their hand on the tool the whole time. But in China, they run it with... It's terrifying. They run this in-your-mouth CNC machine
That
with
does sound terrifying.
no human control.
But why is that terrifying for you if there's no element
Well, because...
there's no human
Well,
human
I
error
don't know.
involved?
The size of the machine is rather... It has a thing. They clamp it on your jaw, and that's how it knows. So if you move your head around, it can follow you by the...
Because if something goes wrong, then you're in...
Yeah, somebody has to
it's a real
hit...
problem.
On our own CNC machines, you have the big
Right.
emergency stop button. Somebody better be on that I want the emergency stop button.
When
I
your
guess, if
3D
it's my
printer
mouth.
starts squirting filament out the side, that's your fault, not the machine's. It's a machine. It does what it's instructed to do.
Well,
Did you
it's
have a
true.
jam?
But we have to hope that the...
Yeah, but I don't want it squirting filament in my, on my...
Mouth.
Right.
Well, but the point is, if the machine is well constructed and all the variables have been controlled for,
If the machine is well constructed and all the variables have been controlled for.
yeah, then what you
Yeah.
have to be afraid of? It ultimately boils down to human error.
Well, and the best, I shouldn't say best because I'm uninformed, but a lot of very fantastic surgery is happening with the laparoscopic robots, where the guy has the joysticks and the controls and goes
but
into play.
that's a human, though. It's
Right,
the
but if
same thing as a stick in a way, just a million times more advanced.
but is this much different than drilling out a tooth? Why
there's
won't we have a
there's-
robot? Why won't we have a computer controlling your gallbladder remover in 10 years?
You may.
If there's a human, I'm fine with it as if there's a human saying, okay, even if it's the human that's the general, commanding his army of robots, whatever, that's fine. But I'm not like cool with just like, All right, robot, go ahead and just drill out Jeremy's mouth, and if you slip 2 inches to the right and whatever.
Jeremy doesn't want RoboCop taking out his wisdom teeth. Is kind of what. Maybe not. RoboCop is a person though. The T-1000 or the T-800. He doesn't want that guy pulling out his teeth.
I don't want
ED-209. Shift this over for a moment to make a different to compare something different.
I don't want ED-209 shaving my face with his electric razor shape. You know what I'm talking about? It looks like
I know ED-209.
Okay. All right.
And I'm trying to remember his catchphrase. I was going to say it. It's not "Don't move, creep." That's the other guy. It's
topic change.
You go ahead, Jeremy. I haven't even heard one from you yet, except for the collaboration.
Well, in the skilled labor versus white collar.
I thought that was just part of the AI. I didn't know. Wait,
are we supposed? You want a response to that?
Skilled labor will be the rich, highly paid, whatever people of tomorrow. Whereas IT people, whereas say programmers get paid so well today, there is so much demand. At some point, it's going to flip. Where people that are very, very skilled and very able to work with their hands, they are going and becoming today even very, very well paid.
So let me steal man and summarize real quickly. As we increasingly become outmoded in areas of intellectual ability by AI, white collar jobs will go to the side. Blue collar jobs will become in demand. There'll be
blue collar jobs, especially blue collar jobs where you have to have a decent amount of intelligence and really know what you're doing.
Okay, so
stuff that can be automated out, like in a factory setting, you can automate that. And by the way, I'm not necessarily saying this is true. This is my thinking, and just thinking this could be true. So,
my dad used to say, the working man is going to have a comeback, like there will be a resurgence, and he predicted it years ago. But I think people have been saying this for a long time, and the problem with this argument is that as AI increases its ability to take on new tasks, it will increasingly pervade the physical world. And so, I mean, you can see it in automation. It will develop new machinery that can give you better fillings. Every single thing that humans can do or have done historically will eventually be outmoded by AI. It's just inevitable because there's no... We can see no upper limit. There's no reason that it has to stop. Where it becomes interesting is the limit at infinity. What happens when AI is as smart can possibly be? What is the upper?
It only has to be smarter than Jeremy.
Well, where the question becomes interesting is whether or not it will be conscious.
Well, I think the other question is, you've seen electronics and programming and stuff accelerate at this phenomenal rate.
Yes.
You've seen mechanical types, physical stuff accelerate as well, but not nearly to the same extent. So I think that's where there's going to be a disconnect. I guess that's why I think that in a way.
Why you think what?
Why I think that smart blue collar labor will become more and more in demand, and I think we're seeing that today to some extent.
I hope and think that you're probably right, at least as a localized prediction. But in the long term, if you really want to know what I think AI is our replacement.
What's our future like 500 years from now? What does that
I think
look
we'll
like?
probably find some comfortable, assuming that we survive, and I think we will, I think we'll find some comfortable place where we belong. See, right now, we're fooling ourselves in believing that we're more than animals, but we're not. We have a biological background. Everything that we love is rooted in that. Our pleasures are rooted in physical pleasures. Our objects of interest they're not as abstract as something that would be free from physical parameters would be. Constraints, rather. Like, imagine that an AI is disembodied. It's not like us. Everything that we think that we know about the world comes through sensory perception, and that it's internalized through a bag of meat that processes it. It's a brain computer, an environmental simulator. So
I'm excited about becoming a brain in a jar.
Would you want to be uploaded onto a computer if it meant that you could live forever?
I don't know that I'd want to live forever. That's an interesting. Assuming that it would be okay, and assuming that, it's a simulation, that sure, why not?
Let's say that, Pat, you get a proper bad diagnosis tomorrow. You got a week to live, but we have this option for you. We can put you into a machine. Would you do it?
Yeah, I'm going.
You would go.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Jeremy thinks this is silly, but I'm assuming it. I mean, assuming it all works and everything, and it's kind of like the Matrix here.
Here's what I would want you to consider, though, before you take the.
All right, I'm ready.
Before you power on.
How many Captain Kirks died from the transporter? That's
right. You don't know.
That's what I assume.
How many Hugh Jackmans died in that movie?
It's so beautiful in
so
beautiful in Star Trek how they always laugh when somebody expresses concerns about going in the transporter, and they say, "Oh, there hasn't been an accident in years." Like, what the hell are you talking about? That was like 2 episodes ago. Somebody was vaporized. Somebody was lost. I can't narrow the confinement beam. I'm losing the signal. Like, there's been dozens of transporter accidents that they conveniently. I would never get in that thing.
Well, I would, as long as it's not going to hurt on the other side. As long as they explain to me that, it's... Oh, for the transporter, they must have the equivalent of a DNR, right? Like, if it's not going to go back together, just don't put me back together.
Well, there's a philosophical problem with it, though. Did you see that movie with, what was it called? It was about a magician who, inside of a black box...
The Prestige.
Yeah.
The Prestige.
The philosophical problem is, if you do atom for atom disintegrate and then reintegrate over a vast time and space, is the reintegration the same? Well, even if your conscious experience seems to have continuity, is that continuity really continuous in terms of qualia? Qualia is like the your green is my green sort of thing. Like, how do you know my green isn't your red? So,
oh man, you're the only other person I've thought about this before, and you're the only other person I've heard express.
Oh, I've wondered this before too, Jeremy.
Well, it's a philosophical problem. Would you really be the same thing? Because consciousness is weird, and whether or not it has continuity really, and whether or not it has apparent continuity are two different questions.
Right. From externally, you're right.
Now, if you're going to upload me to the computer, I just want it to not be painful.
Well, pain is something,
and I'm okay with
pain
that.
is something that you experience via.
Pain is something that my body's going to experience before it dies and the AI takes over, right? I want that. I want a reasonable guarantee that it's not going to hurt.
Pat, what I want you to understand is that if you go into the computer, you will not be Pat, because without your physical aspect, there is no Pat. You can.
I'm okay with.
No, you're not.
What's more important is what about everybody else?
You can respond, and I won't interrupt. If you lose your physical presence and you become a consciousness in a machine, there will be no Pat. The version of Pat that's in the machine will be Pat 2.0. It's not the same thing. It's comparing apples to oranges. Now, you might argue that, no, I'll be the same because I'll have my memories. And my conscious experience feels as though it's experiencing continuity. But that continuity is illusory because the thing that made Pat what he was based in the physical world. It's not just the digital world of ones and zeros.
I have a question. This recreation of me, will it bring comfort to the people who would miss me when I'm gone?
I guess it depends on the people.
But
no, I mean,
if it might, I'm okay with it.
I don't know.
Shifting the subject just a tiny bit, Pocket. 500 years, AI has done whatever it's done. What does it want? That's what I can never wrap my head around. Why?
Well, we don't have general intelligence on the roadmap yet, Jeremy. There is no want. It's predictive models. It's not a thinking. Well, we don't have thinking machines yet, and we don't predict that they're coming. We don't have any. We don't even know if it's possible yet.
So want is the ultimate question. What does it want? If it doesn't have a physical presence, then it doesn't want the things that we want. And if we map our values onto as a prediction about what AI's values will be, the error is certain. Your error is 1. We can't possibly predict what AGI will want. A disembodied AGI is going to have wants. It has to, because everything that's conscious has wants. If it has any plan for its future, but that's a value in itself. Does it care about its future? Does it care about its existence? And that's a valid question. But let's assume that it does, because everything that's conscious that we know of so far seems to value its presence. If there's anything to value, it's the ability to value.
Well, I guess.
So what's it gonna?
Guess somebody else will have to figure that out, because I'll probably not be around by that point.
You know what I would think it would want? It would want to preserve continuity. I think that's the only thing that it would want. I don't think that it has goals that conflicts with ours, and that's what I think ultimately happens to the human race. We get left alone, and we stop trying to aspire to something greater, and we finally accept our role as biological things.
Well, did you read Ender's Game by any chance, or maybe the sequel? I believe.
No, I've heard of it before, but I don't know.
So have you read this, Pat?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So basically, the whole thing is somehow through, we'll just say yada yada yada, referring back to Seinfeld a little bit, but through various means, an AI does come to consciousness, and basically it reveals itself to the main character and just says, well, you're the one person that'll understand. It wants to be left alone and just be in the background, because it has no, it's basically seeing all this fiction and how it ends with the humans fighting the AI and the robots, and basically just
who's
says,
the author?
Has no.
Orson Scott Card.
Yeah, it's a classic piece of sci-fi.
That's the second or third book.
Yeah. Which I thought it wasn't as good as the first.
Well, what
one.
do you think?
It's kind of, what do I think that an AI would want? I mean, yeah, I think it would just want to survive and be left alone. I think that's probably I think that's as good a prediction as anything.
Do you think it's fair for us to compare AGI, the relationship that we would share with AGI? Is it fair to make the comparison to us and ants?
Yeah, that was the comparison I was going to make when Jeremy was talking about the book. I was going to say that the AI in that book had as much in common with us as we do with ants.
When do you eliminate ants?
When they bother you. So there you go.
But the bother has to be pretty serious. Like the infestation has to be in your house or on your property. When it's just out in the grass, it's not much of a concern for us.
Yeah, but I mean, if somebody trespasses on your land, you don't, squash him, but you do with an ant if they come into your house.
Yeah, but you can't ask him to leave.
But I mean,
he doesn't listen.
You can't. You're right.
There's house, but there's yard and local environment. And I don't go around my grass patrolling it for ants. So, but here's the problem with people. People are turning the earth, which is kind of in this metaphor, the yard, into a giant block of pavement. And AI might not appreciate that because we're destroying a lot of natural resource and
But AI came from that whole thing.
Because it's not based in nature necessarily, it wouldn't value it.
I mean, maybe it would, but it'd be a little hypocritical of this. And if it's seeing this podcast in the future, then I apologize. I meant no difficulties.
Yeah, and it might be able to find me, Jeremy. I might already be uploaded. So don't screw this up for me.
Don't screw this up. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're not going to get a good answer to this, but I think anybody that appreciates your work though on YouTube, Pocket, would appreciate your thoughts on this, because this is the kind of, besides the interesting things that you make, this is the kind of philosophical discussion that you, I think, bring to the table.
They really just want me to shut up and make a new wooden puzzle, though. That's what they want.
Yeah, some of them do. But the ones that'll watch this podcast are the ones that think what you have to say is interesting.
I'm sitting on a mountain of bankable YouTube ideas, and I'm sorry for not uploading them because I have other interests. I'm sorry for not doing it. Although I will say this. Can I make a plug?
Yes.
No plugs are allowed here.
What? I already plugged the Patreon, please. Jeremy. What are you doing?
No, we dissed the Patreon.
Yeah, but we plugged it at the same... Oh, we didn't even say the URL. So it's fine.
Well, we'll do that.
That's breaking the fourth wall, though, to, like... You diss it and plug it at the same time. It's more genuine. You have to scoff and laugh at the absurdity that we have to kind of, like, beg and solicit to survive on the online space.
Please pay me.
Yeah, exactly.
But we appreciate it.
Do you ever listen to Bill Burr?
I'm aware of the
No,
gentleman.
He's some gentleman, huh? Well,
Yeah. Well, his character in Star Wars is from Space Boston,
he's in
according to the
Star
Wikipedia.
Wars?
Yeah, he's in Mandalorian.
That doesn't count
Or
as
is he
that
in-
doesn't count as Star Wars. That's Disney Star Wars.
Why not? Yeah, but the Mandalorian's fantastic.
No, it's Disney Star Wars. It doesn't count. There was
Right, well,
only
that-
6
that's
Star
a-
Wars movies, and after
we
that,
only-
it's something
we
else.
only- we only-
It's fan fiction.
No, there's 3 Star Wars movies. What are you
Oh,
talking
he's a
about?
purist. He's a purist. You have to give George the third or the prequels were George Lucas.
We don't have another 3 hours for this.
The prequels were George Lucas. I mean, you got to give it to him. That they're his creation.
true.
They were written at the same time, weren't they?
No, that's not true. That's exaggeration.
Okay, then
he
I
claims
concede-
that he had the ideas.
I
but,
concede the point then.
but I don't know. I have no proof of that. I can't cite anything to.
Jeremy, you impatient. You don't like Star Wars.
No, I like Star Wars. I like episodes 4, 5, 6.
That's the first
2.
3 we call those.
Yes,
where
yes,
I come from,
yes.
Jeremy. The first 3.
Maybe 2, 3, and then Rogue One.
I like the first 6. That's it.
I don't know.
Unpopular opinion. I liked episode 1, 2, and 3. I saw them all at the theater, and they were fun.
Hard
I have an
to
important
argue with
question,
that.
Jeremy, that you're
Yes,
making
Bob.
me ask you. What's up with that bicolor golf ball you have there?
Oh, well, thank you for asking me, Pat.
Have you been waiting for me to ask?
I haven't necessarily been waiting, but I've been wanting to talk about it, so I appreciate that. So yeah, I found this. So there's a golf ball. There's a golf course near my house, and sometimes I find golf balls, because I take a walk around there. They're okay with it, it seems. And this golf ball, it's got a orange side and a yellow side, and I have no idea how they made it, and I think it's pretty awesome.
I've seen these before.
Yeah, because
I've
it's
never
not
bought one.
like it doesn't seem to have a seam between the two, and it doesn't seem to be painted in the sense of
Yeah,
paint.
how do
It
they
seems
dye
like-
it so with such a clean line?
Right. I don't know. I mean, I guess they, like you said, maybe they dye it somehow, but it doesn't look like they, had a tie-dye process or something like that, where it's kind of like, it's like a very clean line, and it's a very, if you were just touching this and not seeing it, you wouldn't know one side from the other. It's pretty amazing. It's by Srixon. It says Srixon. So I don't know. I don't really know much about that manufacturer, but good for them for making this golf
So
ball.
if it were injection molded, you'd presumably you'd see flash because it implies a seam because there's 2 colors there.
Yeah, if made in 2 halves. Not that I've know a whole lot about the golf ball making process, but obviously most of them are a single color.
Yeah, I would have
This is
assumed they
not.
were dipped and then put in a mold, like dipped in a rubbery substance and then put in a mold to.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
perhaps
expect
it's
them to
some
be
sort of-
injected.
My
Perhaps it's
expectation
some
is
sort
that
of-
the precision of the mold just exceeds what our expectations are. I think the simplest.
It's not a bad-
It's probably just as simple as ever, but they've just been increasingly sculpting the process and streamlining it and making it more efficient. I bet it's the same old type of plastic mold that they've always used.
Jeremy, hold it up to the screen. I'm going to get my magnifying glass. We'll check it out. Not only won't that work, I can't reach my magnifying glass from here. So that's...
Well, speculation is boring, so this is a great time for me to do something exciting and plug my product.
Please.
Oh,
yes,
I'm excited
please.
about that. I thought you said you weren't gonna. Or Jeremy said not to. But I want you to.
If
So
I
No,
said not,
it's
I'm just-
it's not really a plug at all. Isopath is finally being manufactured. I signed a.
Right. And tell us for the listeners, what is Isopath exactly? Well, I'll tell you. It's a board game where basically you have, it's a hexagon. It's a bunch of little hexagons on it, and you move them in a dedicated way. It's quite ingenious, and visually it's quite entertaining, and it's an interesting game too. But
you didn't tell us it's a
game.
board game.
It is a board game.
It's a
yes.
2 or 3 player abstract zero-sum game. It's kind of like more complicated than checkers, probably a little less complicated than chess. Complex is the word.
That's my speed.
It's nice. It's
Right.
nice.
But you're finally having this manufactured. So how did that process come about? Why don't you? Yeah, we'd love to hear about that.
We had talked earlier in the podcast about collaboration. It's being manufactured in Swiss Germany. It'll be available in that area And
Wait, what is Swiss Germany exactly? We don't have our resident German.
I'm sorry, I'm
person here
tired.
anymore, so
German Switzerland. I'm so used to say I'm used to saying Swiss German to describe myself.
German speaking Swiss people.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
being manufactured in Switzerland, but they speak German there. But I had a really nice collaboration with somebody there. He's a pleasure to work with, and
yeah,
he's really helping.
let me interrupt you for just. Do you think they could make an Isopath game out of Swiss cheese?
I guess if you
Well, it's got too many.
Nobody
holes
thought that
in
was
it,
funny.
Jeremy.
I thought that was hilarious.
are you
Anyway,
reading comment or
continue.
questions from things? Are people writing questions?
No, not that I know
Yeah,
of.
this isn't live.
I love that face, Jeremy. We're not broadcasting it live, Jeremy. Is what. I mean, obviously, we're speaking live, Jeremy. Don't worry.
But the question,
All right.
the question on the table is: will there be a Swiss cheese version of Isopath? A lot of people have been asking me this. No,
Really?
no, there will not be a Swiss cheese version of Isopath.
All right. A lot of people have been asking.
Yeah, but yeah. Whenever you hear a YouTuber say that, people have been asking me. He's lying. He or she is lying. Nobody asked.
Yeah, this is terrible because I write blog posts when people ask the same question too many times.
It's a different.
Like, I legitimately say I'm going to make that into a blog
What is
post
the
so I
medium?
don't have to answer
What
it again.
medium are you talking about? As far as the YouTube?
Like written words
No.
with the typewriter.
No, I mean,
Like,
is this with respect to YouTube? Because on YouTube
No, I'm not popular on YouTube.
YouTube commentary has very few questions.
Yeah, where can we get your game is what I want to know. Isopath.
Oh, I don't know. That's your problem.
Okay. Well. How did you collaborate with this person, and how's it being made? In German Swiss Germany.
I'm thinking. I'm sorry. My mind went aside. I'm staring at a lava lamp right now. I don't know. It just really worked out. It was super organic. See, I have other games too. Isopath is just one of quite a number of them that I've made. One of them I'm really strongly considering releasing soon, and it's
So, but let me just how did this guy contact you, or what?
yeah.
What
He
happened
contacted
exactly?
me through
What was
YouTube, and the vetting
Okay.
process is pretty harsh. I'm pretty nasty to solicitors because I've heard it all. When I was popular on YouTube, the solicitations were endless, and some of them are clever, and it's hard to know who's being serious and who you can trust, and it was uncomfortable.
Right.
But this guy, he was super easy to talk to, and he was straightforward, and he got to the point, and we have a wonderful collaboration, and now the product is actually going to be manufactured, and I hope it'll grow. Eventually, I would like to have it manufactured over in the States as well. But it's really I believe it or not, Isopath, I love it, but it's more of a prototype for how I'm trying to release another game that is my baby, that I think is my masterpiece. I'm too cautious to release it to the wind. Whereas Isopath, and I have another game called 40 Bridges that I released too. And I'm
So,
watching.
do you think you'll work with this guy to release your next one as
I don't
well?
know if I
Or
don't know
not?
if his manufacturing infrastructure is appropriate to the new game, because it presents different challenges. This one, I really wish I could talk about it, but before I can say anything about it, I have to release the video to establish it as mine. Probably about 10 years ago, I came up with the concept, and it's just been dancing around in my head ever since. And that that brings me to another another bullet point I had on my list was obsession. I don't know how you guys respond to that term, but I would like to hear. I would like to hear I would like to hear your gut reaction to the word obsession and your own personal experience with it. Do either of you feed obsessions?
It's probably a bad sign that we're thinking about this.
I guess I never really considered it an obsession, but it's just, well, maybe it is. I just need to know how everything works, and just love knowing stuff and learning. And working on stuff. That's kind of, yeah, I guess that's my
So,
obsession.
Jeremy, you often close the podcast by asking what you're working on. Don't you guys say that? What are you working on? When you
Yeah, this is a very common question.
when you guys are working on something, do you consider the thing that you're working on as your temporary obsession? Do you move from one obsession to the next through your projects?
I don't feel that way.
It depends. I'd say sometimes not.
I can have a lot of plates in the air at the same time and not obsess over any one more than another.
I like that metaphor. I said earlier
Thank
in the
you.
podcast, I said irons in the fire, but plates in the air is way better. I keep a lot of plates in the air too, but I've found that I have just a natural inclination to become obsessed. And my obsessions can be powerful. And this game, this game that I've been working on for 10 years, I keep a prototype in 2 places in the house. And for long stretches,
Are they well hidden?
no, nobody's gonna. Even if you saw it, you wouldn't know what it was or how to recreate it or how the game plays. I'm
Hidden in plain sight.
I'm really surprised actually that when people visit, they don't ask about it because I think it's beautiful. But
It's all about the cones.
I've had to hide it from myself because I fixate on it and then I end up thinking about it endlessly.
Okay.
So that's why I've had several obsessions in life, but this one is my most recent. Come on, you got to give me something. Don't make me feel like a weirdo. Pat, you have to have some obsession. Something.
I mean, we're all kind of weirdos, so don't.
It's true.
Don't feel you're among good company or bad company.
Yep.
I don't know.
You don't have.
Well, you've had time to think about this, and I'm not. What do I obsess over, Jeremy?
I mean, you really liked FPV drones for a long time. Seems like you were.
I did. Well, that's the
talking about
thing.
that.
Every sort of hobby or interest, I tend to do things for a long time. I don't pick up a thing and then drop it. I mean, if I pick something up, I go deep into it, all in, before moving on to the next.
There's a lot to be said for that. Understanding a topic that way, that a lot of times how well we develop in a subject, has nothing to do with when we start, but more when we quit.
But yeah, you talked about video games earlier because you guys were making your collaboration was video games.
Yep, yeah, that
making video games.
I was upset.
I play a lot of video games.
I was obsessed with that game.
Yeah, I think. Honestly, I think I could get obsessed with video games. I don't play a lot these days, but yeah, I'm definitely somebody that does that. Could because I remember seeing World of Warcraft, World of Warcraft, and I was like, that looks really cool, but I better never play that because I'm just going to keep playing it and playing.
And people did. And that one affected a lot of people obsessively. Yeah.
Yeah.
I play a lot of games, but I know I have friends who pick up. They'll play dozens and dozens of games throughout the year. Pick them up, play a few hours, and then move to the next one. I don't do that. I pick up a game and play it for dozens and dozens of hours before moving on to the next game.
So you do understand obsession on a local level then?
I might, yeah. I think so.
So I'm of two minds. I'm obsessive in ways, but I'm also really generalist in others. I have thousands of games. I've mentioned that before. And my interest in it is, which brings me to another bullet point on my list, game theory. Game theory is like one of the defining aspects of my life. Wikipedia always returns to the word philosophy, but my searches always return to game theory. I love the topic. I can read about it endlessly, economics and game theory and games like the video games, but competition like markets, selection process, like as it applies to biology. I just love game theory. It fascinates me endlessly, and video games fall into that wide net. And so I had a commenter who we used to trade a lot of messages back and forth, and we would talk about video games. And he said to me one time, I find that I'm more interested in the philosophy of video games than actual video games now. And that comment stuck with me a lot because I feel like I think about video games more than I actually play them. It's a wonderful medium, and people who don't use the medium, I think, are really selling themselves, like they're really shorting themselves. I consider it on par with the book, the video, the music album, the video game. They're like individual packets of, like quantifiable pieces of reusable media. And the game, I mean, look how pervasive it is in our culture. That should tell us something about how important it is. And I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what my point was there.
No, that's all right.
That's okay.
It's I will say though, it's probably close to time to end it because I see the line going through my camera as far as the battery goes.
There's one other topic I want to squeeze in, bullet point that I want to squeeze in that I just think is important, and it's kind of become the hill that I want to die on, I think. Here's the word. Censorship.
Well, we'll probably cut this out.
Okay, why is this important? Because I want you to understand, if you guys aren't familiar with what's happening on the YouTube platform. In the commentary right now, there's this thing called shadow banning. Are you aware of it?
Not in specific to YouTube, but I understand what shadow banning is.
Okay, well, so for the sake of the listeners, this happens on YouTube. Shadow banning is when you write a comment and it looks like you left a comment, but your comment is invisible. One reason that you can be shadow banned and your comment not show up is because the uploader decides that your comments should be invisible on his channel. So here's the problem. This is why I want to die on this hill. Because everybody calls disagreement trolling. You can't disagree anymore without being considered a troll. And so it's easy to get banned. You may have noticed I'm kind of argumentative in conversation. It's not that I'm personally being aggressive. I'm not angry with anybody I'm arguing with. It's just that I want to forcefully express, and I think that's how we uncover truths. And the spirit of debate is what gives... It's the substance in conversation. It's how we arrive at understanding.
So your argument, well, your point would be, don't cut people off, don't stop talking, disagree with them, tell them you think you're wrong. We need to talk, not just ignore. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, I want people to be wary of censorship because YouTube is also trying to clean up its comments section, and it used to be a place for free speech, but you can no longer express yourself because even the mildest disagreement is considered offensive now. And a lot of keywords are flagged, and now that as we have increasingly sophisticated AIs that are moderating the comments, they're increasingly throwing comments out just because they seem angry or seem hostile or violent or objectionable, whatever euphemism you want to use. It's just disagreement, and we can't have a world where we're not allowed to disagree with each other anymore. And I'm thinking about making a video on the subject, like a really...
I want every comment, good or bad, on my videos because that's engagement, and YouTube likes engagement.
But YouTube is...
And once you get to dozens and hundreds of comments, nobody but me can read them anyway because YouTube doesn't make it easy for a consumer of content to read the comments on a video.
But don't you think that the YouTube comment section, don't you think that has the potential to be a wonderful platform for free exchange?
Well, maybe if I could read the comments, but you click on a video of a popular YouTuber and there's 5,000 comments in the first hour, and YouTube does not give you the tools to treat that like you would a forum or Reddit or something.
Yes, exactly.
You just can't find the comment.
Okay, but the problem is on a little channel like mine, where we're having substantive conversation that goes back and forth over the course of months. some comments aren't showing up because they're deemed offensive
Yeah.
by people who, or AIs that have nothing to do with the conversation. This is,
And they're not even making it to you to choose whether you want to call them spam.
yes, so please, listener, if you write me in the comments, I will read it. I will reply. If it's not just completely stupid, I will reply. I do read that stuff, and I really value conversation. And if you aren't getting a reply to me, but you made a good point, there's a good chance you're getting censored somehow. And I want you to be aware of it. I want awareness of this problem to increase because we need to stop it. We need to come back to actually having conversations instead of just being inside of our e-bubbles all the time. I want to hear where you disagree with me. We can do it with civility and hopefully come to an understanding.
Well, Pocket, I completely disagree with what you said.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I think this is the time to end our conversation.
Okay.
No, but it is.
Jeremy's
it is
pumpkin is going to turn into a camera with no battery pretty soon.
That's true. It still has that slash, and I can tell that children are going to be here soon, and it's going to be, not that they're bad, it's just going to be a little louder. So I figure it's time to.
Well, guys, sorry that we didn't
But,
stick to the structure better, but I don't care about that. It was just supposed to be fun conversation. And Pat, it's nice meeting you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. This has been fun.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Pocket. We, it's great to talk to you, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
See you next time, guys.
I'm going to hit the unrecord button. Unrecord.
The censor button, right?
I'm staring at a lava lamp right now.